Hello and welcome back to the Law of Attraction Manifestation Mastery course. This is video number 3A, and today we're going to be talking about, can the law of attraction be addicting? And how does that affect your ability to manifest? So if you're new to the series, let me just say that I am here to tell you as a shamanic teacher, somebody who has studied shamanic practices and esoteric spirituality from many different traditions from all over the world for, decades now, that the law of attraction is a spiritual science. It is a spiritual law. And when you use it correctly, it works every time. But unfortunately, there are a lot of teachers nowadays teaching it who do not understand its ancient shamanic roots and do not understand the full interpretation of the law of attraction. And so as a result, a lot of people are getting some good information, but they're only getting incomplete information about the law of attraction. And so let me just ask you straight out. First, take your feelings about the law of attraction as you've been taught it. Put those feelings aside just for a moment. And let me ask you an honest question. How successful have you been using the law of attraction? Have you gotten the life of your dreams? Have you found that it works some of the time and then it doesn't work? Have you been doing it for long periods of time, and the longer that you do it, the less results you're seeing? Now, I'm perfectly fine if you've been extremely successful, then you'll appreciate this even more because you are going to hear things that you've intuited about the law of attraction. Maybe you haven't consciously become aware of it, but as I explain it to you, you go, yeah, that's right, I have thought of it that way. Because let's face it, there are people who don't succeed with the law of attraction. And, to prove that, all you have to do is go on to Google or YouTube and just type in, do this and see what happens. Type in, when the law of attraction doesn't work, or the law of attraction doesn't work. You're going to see tons of results. So if you're a fan of the law of attraction and you swear by it and you know that it works, great. But you cannot deny that there are a huge number of people out there that are not getting it for whatever reason. So this is what I'm here to break down. I'm here to show you how the modern interpretation of the law of attraction has been watered down and you are getting half-truths. Those of you who are using it and seeing results, it's because you are intuitively and unconsciously using also the law of manifestation. And I go into a bunch of reasons. Some people are more geared to automatically, intuitively understand the law of manifestation. So when you explain the law of attraction to somebody who is already wired properly, emotionally and spiritually, then they get it immediately and they're able to manifest exactly what they want. But what they don't understand is that they're also employing the laws of manifestation. The people who try the law of attraction and are getting mixed results or are failing, especially those where you get, over time, you get worse and worse and worse responses from the law of attraction. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. It means that you're missing the rest of the shamanic science. And this is a science that has been taught for thousands of years. This is nothing new. We've repackaged it. And this is what I want to talk about today. How it's been repackaged in such a way where it keeps you constantly going back for more. You become addicted to it. And, there's a lot of people, when I talk about the idea of the law of attraction nowadays in modern spiritual contexts, being taught either incompletely or incorrectly, people get very defensive. And I want you to be aware of that. When I tell you that there are teachers out there who are, maybe they're well-meaning, but they just don't know the full historical law of attraction, or I believe that there are some teachers out there, some of the really rich and famous ones, some of them that you may love and adore. They are purposefully, deliberately leaving out the most important parts. And in some cases, and I've caught them doing this, in some cases they are actually telling you to do things that will inhibit your ability to manifest, while at the same time keeping you addicted to the message. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So again, I'm here to tell you the truth, and I will tell you the truth whether it is pleasant or not. Listen, I know all the tricks. I know what cult leaders do. I know what salesmen do. I was a salesman for years. I know all of the tricks. And I can't live with myself if I tell somebody partial truths. I have to tell you the whole truth, because here's the thing. I firmly believe in this. I have proven it to myself, especially in the last decade. I have really applied the laws of attraction and the laws of manifestation, and I've learned through tough lessons and tough experience in life what it really is. And here's the thing. I have gone from less than nothing. Less than 10 years ago, I was this close to being homeless. I was living in a freaking shack in the middle of the woods in North Idaho. And I did not know where my money was going to come from. I was living off of the last bits of my credit card. I ended up going into bankruptcy, and I had all kinds of physical ailments. I had just gotten out of a divorce. I had lost everything in the divorce, and I did not know. I didn't know where I was going to live. It was cold and it was snowing. It was a really difficult time of my life, and I learned what the law of attraction and the law of manifestation is, because here's the really great thing about tragedy and difficulty. If you're listening to me and what I'm describing sounds like you or you relate to it, then you are in a much better position to understand and master this law of attraction and law of manifestation than somebody who has money and has a job and has a relationship and maybe wants to have more. If you're similar to how I described myself just even less than 10 years ago, you are set up to really master this and to have a life even better than you could possibly have imagined. And the reason for that is because there's a really valuable thing. It's called desperation. When you're desperate, when you have nothing else to lose, then you are willing to put the energy and the time into things. You're willing to take risks, and you're willing to sacrifice. And this that I'm talking about, the hard work and the sacrifice, is going to be more on the spiritual level, meaning you're going to have to change the idea of who you think you are. You're going to have to change the idea of who you think the universe is and your relationship to it. And you're going to have to understand yourself on a deeper level. Interestingly enough, I just got some sales email. And I may go into this because if I break this down for you, really break it down for you, the way that you are being sold this law of attraction. If I break it down for you, it'll really show you how these people these gurus are trying to keep you addicted to them and trapped in a cycle of failure. It's like the drug companies. There are untold natural solutions to all kinds of physical problems. I can tell you from personal experience, again, less than 10 years ago, I had chronic fatigue. I had chronic back pain, neck pain, back spasms, sciatica. I had tendonitis. I couldn't even lift, a glass of water. My tendonitis was so bad. And a knee pain and joint pain, and my left knee was swollen out to here. And I was told by doctors that I wasn't going to be able to lift weights again, or go surfing, or ride bikes, or hike again. I was told that I had micro tears in my tendons and muscles, and they just give you all this death sentence basically, and they tried to get me on painkillers, and I refused. Bottom line is I have zero physical symptoms of anything. I am in better health than I've ever been. I am stronger than I've ever been. My body feels great. I'm healthier than I've ever been at 55 years of age. And I'm telling you this because it is a direct result of practicing the full, complete law of attraction and law of manifestation. And I learned it when I was in this state of desperation, because I was willing to do whatever. But the one thing that I wasn't willing to do was to give up my dreams. And we'll get into that another time. I don't know if you can hear it. It's raining outside, so if you hear some weird sound, it's the rain coming down and hitting my air conditioner that's hanging outside my window. So, bottom line is, let's get back to the question. Can you become addicted to the law of attraction? Again, if I say that to you and you get defensive, and you want to defend the law of attraction, and you want to say, no, the law of attraction works, no, I'm in full agreement with you. Take those feelings and just monitor them. You can pick them back up. Listen, you can decide that I'm full of crap and that I don't know what I'm talking about. Nobody's forcing you to believe anything. You can pick up your old beliefs whenever you want. Okay? But once again, I want you to ask you, is it really working for you to the degree that you want? Are you really getting what you want out of it? If not, if you can honestly say no, that's good, because I can tell you what the missing parts of the law of attraction are. Okay? It's going to take some discipline on your part to listen and do some internal changing, and it may take a challenging task of learning how to change the way that you think. So, how do people become addicted to the law of attraction? So what is the law of attraction as it is being taught? The law of attraction as it is being taught now, in the incomplete way, says that how you feel and how you think creates a vibration. And happy feelings, good feelings create a good vibration. Bad feelings, negative feelings, sadness, anger, depression, resentment, cynicism, these create a negative vibration, and whatever your vibration is, that attracts the same vibration to you. So there's a law of attraction teachers and here's the insidiousness. Listen to what happens. They euphemize the words thoughts and feelings, and they turn it into vibrations. And that they do that for a reason. Because if they continue to say, if they come out and say to you, you can't have any bad feelings, because if you have bad feelings, bad things will happen to you. If you have fear, then whatever you're afraid of will happen to you. If they say that to you, you're going to get so turned off and so scared you're going to not listen to them. But if they disconnect you from your feelings and they just call it a vibration, that makes it more acceptable to you. It is a way of speaking and using words in order to hypnotize you and manipulate you. And so they say, well, if you vibrate on a negative vibration, then negative things will happen. And then in your mind you think in terms of positive and negative, and you don't own your feelings. It's a way of disconnecting you from your feelings. Because let's be honest, how much control do you have over your negative feelings, your negative thoughts? If you're somebody that grew up in a well-balanced home, with parents that loved you, in a society that was supportive, with supportive and loving siblings, when you had a good education and a good life, then you have some ability to control your negative feelings. You have enough cushion in your life when a negative thought comes up, a fear comes up, you go, you know what, I'm just not going to indulge in that because I believe in life and I believe in people and I believe in God or I believe in the universe. And so you have some measure of control. But what about the rest of us? If you're listening to me and you've been really interested in the law of attraction, I'm willing to bet it's because that you've had some negative experiences in life. You have had some negative feelings, right? And you want to feel good. So the message of if you just feel good all the time, good things will happen, that's extremely attractive. And this is why many people get defensive and they get offended with me and they leave negative comments and thumbs down and all that kind of stuff. And they get very protective of the false gurus out there that are trying to keep you addicted. They become defensive, not because what I'm saying isn't true. It's because they feel as though I'm attacking hope for them. Because what they really want is they want to hold on to the message that if you just feel good all the time, good things will happen. And so they have this hope that they can think themselves out of their negative feelings. And they can have positive feelings. But the truth of the matter is that those of us who have had tragedy and difficulty and trauma and dysfunction, I grew up in an extremely dysfunctional home, alcoholic father, overprotective mother, abusive older brother, used to beat the crap out of me all the time. And I had a rough adulthood as a result of that. And I'm here to tell you, as somebody who I believe has gained some mastery in the law of attraction and the law of manifestation. I've made some videos recently. You can see me walking on the beach in front of my house here in Southern California in a very upscale neighborhood. And less than 2 years ago, I was living in a one-room pool house, basically, in somebody's backyard. So I lost my train of thought there. I was remembering that house. I was remembering, it wasn't like it was filled with rats or cockroaches. It was just really tiny. And I was living in basically South Central LA. A great neighborhood, very nice people, but it's not where I wanted to live. I wanted to live near the beach. And here it is less than 2 years later. And my income has skyrocketed and continues to skyrocket. And I live in one of the most well-to-do neighborhoods in the world. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the location. And that's the point. You can have whatever you want. This is my message to you. You can have whatever you want. You really can. And but we need to understand what these laws are. And they are laws. And they function according to rules. But let's get back to the subject. So, there's a word that I didn't make up, but I think it describes this cycle of addiction. So let's talk. Before I get into that word, let's talk about what addiction is. I'm not talking about something that you do all the time because you need to and it's good for you. I breathe air just continuously. My heart beats all the time. I eat food every day. I drink water every day. I like to surf as much as possible. I have interests and hobbies that I do, all the time. I'm very into staying healthy and strong and, all that stuff. Those aren't addictions. That's health. That's something that you need. That's good for you. Indulging in those things is good. An addiction is something that gives you an immediate payoff, but over time you get less and less returns from it, and you get more and more entrenched in it. And you get in this cycle of getting the immediate payoff, and then you end up suffering from it. Drugs, alcoholism, those are good examples. If you snort meth, you're going to have an instant rush, and you're going to have a euphoria. Going to be followed by paranoia and delusions, and your teeth are going to fall out and all that kind of stuff. But you keep doing it, and you keep doing it for that rush, for that experience. And if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I think meth is really screwing up your life, the addict will say, hey, I can quit whenever I want, and I know exactly what I'm doing. And I just one more time. If I just get it one more time, then it'll all be okay. Just once more. That's addiction. And there is an addictive quality to following these law of attraction gurus. And it's because they're giving you half-truths. And there's a word. The word that I wanted to bring up is called hopium. Hopium. Because, like opiates are incredibly addictive. And they're more than just addicting. There's different levels of addiction. There's the addiction that comes from the emotional payoff, which has its own, neurochemical reaction that keeps you addicted. But, if you stop, you'll have an emotional withdrawal, but you don't have the physical dependence that makes you violently ill. Really addictive drugs like opiates, pain pills, heroin. These not only have the emotional addiction that comes, but then there's a physical dependence that when you start to come off of that, you get violently ill. This is why we have this opiate addiction crisis. It's not just because there's a bunch of lazy people out there. There are some people, hardworking people who, they have a operation or a physical injury or some kind of physical pain issue, and they take these pills, and then what ends up happening is they become physically dependent. They're not addicts in the traditional sense. They can't stop taking it. In fact, I have a friend who I've known for most of my life, who was an opiate addict, and the only way he got off the opiates was he was given a prescription which mimics, it's technically an opiate that doesn't get you high, but it still does the same thing to the receptors, and if he stops taking that, he starts going through major withdrawals, emotional, physical, he gets very sick. And so he has to keep taking that drug all the time, because he's physically dependent. He's not emotionally addicted to it anymore, to the high that you get from pain pills, because he's not taking pain pills. But he is physically dependent upon that opiate in his system, keeping him from shutting down. So hopium, Hopium, is when, in the law of attraction world, when you've got somebody who actually has a lot of negative feelings. They have sadness, they have depression, they have fear, they have anger, they have hatred. And because they are told, first and foremost, they're given the hope that, listen, you can have good things in your life if you focus on positive vibrations, so you get talked out of your feelings, because if they get wrapped up in what the feelings are, then they get wrapped up in that. So the way you disconnect it is you just say it's not feelings, it's a vibration. And if they're told that they stay on a positive vibration, they will have positive things. This is very appealing. If I'm talking to you and you're finding yourself getting defensive, please just hold on to that feeling. Just be aware that that feeling is coming up. You can come back to your belief, but follow me through on this. So when you're told that if you have a positive vibration, positive things will happen to you, what that does is that kicks in the mind and in the brain and in the body, all kinds of reactions of, I want to feel good. I want positivity. And the subtle message underneath it is, don't look at your feelings. And that when somebody is, and I know because I've been there many times, when you are just absolutely consumed with depression, with sadness, with fear, with self-judgment, self-loathing, self-hatred, when you're filled with these feelings, the one thing you want more than anything is to be given something that will make you feel better, even if it's just for a moment. So when somebody starts talking in a way that disassociates you from your feelings and starts talking about Positive vibrations will bring positive things in your life. Focus on the positive. This is what you've been doing your whole life. You have been wanting to feel positive your whole life. And here somebody's coming along saying, yes, stop thinking about bad things, think about good things. That is what initially hooks you in. And then if you go to the seminar, then you're surrounded by people who want the same thing. You have somebody who's leading you. Maybe they take you through some breathing exercises. They start giving you some positive feedback. They start hyping up, this. And as a group, there's this energy that comes, and you become part of a group. And you intuitively connect to people's hope and positive feelings. And people have glazed over eyes, and the music is playing, and the lights are on, and all of that. And then comes somebody walking out onto the stage who says, I am here to give you the message from beings from another dimension. And that immediately puts you in a state of belief and receptivity. And then the message of positivity, you can hear it, because all of a sudden now it's not just another person. It's the being Zohar from Zeta Reticuli, and they are an advanced being. And here's the underlying thing about that. In advanced beings, they don't have problems. It's an enlightened person. And we think in modern times enlightened people are people who don't have any negative feelings. And so you get this reinforcement and you experience a high. I'm not judging it, I'm just telling you what it is. And then you're told, stay positive. Here's what happens when you stay positive. And it's very easy to stay positive in that experience. And then what happens? You go home and the high wears off and all the negative feelings start to come back. But you loved that feeling of being high. You loved that feeling of having some being, some spiritual essence focusing on you. In fact, there was one person that wanted to get into a discussion with me about it. And their response was, I was talking about a specific teacher who I thought was deliberately omitting the truth of this law of attraction because it would mean that she wouldn't have all these people fawning over her. She wouldn't have this cult-like thing. Anyway, I won't get into that right now. So I was talking about this, and she wanted to get into a discussion. She says, I know so-and-so is real because when you're there and you hear the message of Zohar, and Zohar, the message is so personal, you know that it's real. I mean, she's just illustrating my point. That this was about her needing to get taken out of herself and to feel good. And because she felt good in that moment, because Zohar or whoever was talking to her directly, because she felt good in that moment, then that's what's most important to her. Not, do you have all the success that you want in your life? Do you have the love in your life? Do you have all the positivity, and do you have everything you want? She's not asking herself that question because she is addicted to the positive vibration. Now, maybe that's not you, but I want you to again ask yourself honestly, are you able to manifest everything that you want just by focusing on positivity? If you are, great. Again, that means that you have the ability, either you have retrained yourself or you unconsciously intuited the law of manifestation, which goes hand in hand with the law of attraction. Congratulations, I'm happy for you. Then you don't need me. You know what you need to do. Keep doing it. If it works, keep doing it. If it works, don't fix it. I fully believe it. If it's not working for you, then I'm not trying to take away the hope. I actually want to give you hope, because the other side of this, just like addiction, addiction has this negative cycle that just keeps making things worse and worse, which keeps you more addicted. So here's the cycle of addiction when it comes to the incomplete law of attraction. You go to the seminar where your favorite law of attraction guru comes out and she channels the beings Zohar through you, and you open up your receptivity because you desperately want to connect with a loving supernatural force. And you have the positive feelings. And then you go home and your negative feelings start to crop up. You've been told, do not focus on negativity. If you focus on negativity, bad things will happen. Maybe things aren't working out the way you want. Maybe you still have money troubles. Maybe you still have relationship troubles. Maybe you're still alone. Maybe you still have health issues. You start to feel fear. You start to feel doubt. You start to feel depression. No, I can't feel those things. That's bad. That's why I have this. And you go to them and you say, why isn't this working? If you have the guts. Most people don't have the guts, because if you go to the seminar with all the people, the Zoharites around you, and you say to them, this isn't really working for me. Is it working for you? They're going to tell you you're too negative. You're going to feel you're not spiritual. You're not spiritual enough. And so a lot of people just don't even share. This is a sad little secret that they keep to themselves. And they just tell themselves, if I can just focus on the positive. And then you try and you look at everybody and you see all the bright eyes and the dilated pupils and the smile and the music. And so you're going to grab onto there and look at them. Look at how happy they are. And then you hear the testimonials. People come up and they talk about, when I started with the law of attraction and I started following Zohar, my life got so much better. And now I have the car, I have the this, and I have the that. And now you want to be like them. And so what happens? They say, how's the law of attraction work for you? And you say, well, gosh, I feel so happy and my life is so much better now. And you don't tell them the truth because they might reject you. Or they might look down on you and say, oh, it's because you're negative. You're a negative person. Oh, I feel sorry for you. Just stop that. Turn that frown upside down. Come on, you can do it. Go get him, Tiger. So you don't want to be talked down to. You don't want people to think that you're unspiritual. You become embarrassed and afraid to tell the truth of what happens at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, when you wake up in a sweat with the fear of how am I going to pay the bills. I'm here to tell you that that is the mistaken part of the law of attraction. It is true that your positive feelings definitely send out a positive vibration and definitely open up the possibility for more positivity to come to you. Absolutely, that is true. It is also true that if you focus on negativity, if you indulge in being angry and resentful, that is going to attract negativity in your life. But here's the missing part of this. It's because it influences your actions. Also, what ends up happening, here's something really interesting. This is another thing that can happen with people who practice the law of attraction and seemingly get worse results. Because for those people who are told that they have to be thinking positive thoughts all the time, what ends up happening is that they shove all of their negative feelings, their bad feelings, their forbidden feelings down into their unconscious. Unconscious means you're not aware of it. Remember, there are 3 minds: the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the unconscious mind. 99% of the time when people use the word subconscious, they really mean unconscious. The subconscious mind is the part of your mind that holds all kinds of information. Like right now I just realized what my address was. But until I had the desire to remember my address, I wasn't thinking it. I'm now thinking of my social security number, but I don't think about that all the time. My shoe size. These are things that if somebody asks you, what's your social security number? Boom, it pops up, but you're not thinking about it. That's your subconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is the part of your mind that you are not consciously aware of. Now, just because you have chosen not to think about your negative feelings, just because you've chosen not to have your negative feelings, that won't make them go away. It just drives them deep into your unconscious, which means consciously, you may not be aware that you have them. But guess what? They are still there. And if we follow the law of attraction, your negative thoughts and your negative feelings are out there vibrating, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. And here's how I know that. Have you ever gone to church and seen the crazy church lady the welcoming you into the church? Welcome, praise the Lord, come on in. Have you been saved yet? I know, because I grew up in those kinds of churches, and those were those people, the crazy look on their face. You know, you walk up to them and they've got a big smile on their face and they talk all this loving talk and welcome, but all of this crazy negativity is coming out of them. It's like you don't want to be around them. It's like, gosh, they're just so creepy. That's somebody who's in denial. They're using religion to deny maybe some very real tragedy in their life. I don't know. But if you do that, if you decide to not have your negative feelings because you've been told they will create negative things in your life, it just gets put into your unconscious mind, and guess what? Consciously you think, I'm focusing on positive things, I'm focusing on love, and you think this is how you come across. Hi, how are you? It's really great to see you. I'm so happy to see you. It's just, I care about you so much. Zohar loves you and I love you. But what you end up looking like is, hi. And all of that negativity is coming out. You're not conscious of it. Unconsciously, it's vibrating big time. You ever notice that? Maybe you don't see it in yourself. Listen, we all do it. I'm no different than you, and I know it takes one to know one. So I'm not trying to judge you. I'm really wanting to help you. I want you to be able to find your power. I want you to experience what I am experiencing. And I want to continue to improve my experience, which is why I teach it. I teach what I know so that I can have a better life. So, the law of attraction, when it is taught incompletely, creates a dynamic whereby people are taught to go into denial with their negative feelings. And here's the thing you need to take away from it. Just because you are trying not to have a negative thought does not mean that they aren't there. Let's talk about thoughts for a second. There's a lot of misinformation and confusion in the law of attraction circles about what thoughts and feelings are. And if you go and listen to different teachers, you will get 100 different results on what causes a negative thought, what is a bad feeling, what is a bad thought, what are thoughts and feelings and intentions. And you seriously, go out there and try and find a consensus among all of them. So I remember reading, if I can remember it exactly, maybe I'm not remembering it exactly, but what I remember reading from somebody, just an average search, and up came somebody who was a life coach and talking about law of attraction. And they were trying to explain the difference between thoughts, feelings, and intentions. And from my experience, they had it 100% backwards. This person was saying that thoughts create a negative vibration or something like that, or feelings create a thought. And anyway, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it didn't make sense. It was confusing and it was backwards. So let me lay out for you how it works. Thoughts are not something that you have control over. You have some control over whether or not you want to indulge in a thought, but a thought that pops into your head, you can't control. And I'll give you an example. Elephant. You just had a picture of an elephant in your mind. Try not to think about an elephant with long tusks. Try not to think about an elephant with one broken tusk. Don't do it. Do not think about an elephant with a broken tusk. You can't control that popping up in your head. You can try and not think about it and think about something else, maybe replace it with another thought. So thoughts are not something that you can control. Thoughts are a reaction to stimulus. I stimulated you with just the word elephant. That's a stimulation. That stimulation created a thought. So a thought is not something you need to feel guilty over. Negative thoughts, negative thoughts. Don't have any negative thoughts. Don't think negative things. You can't control the thoughts that pop into your head. You have control to some degree over the actions that you take, but you can't control the thoughts themselves. Thoughts. Here's something that you haven't been taught, and if you understand this, you'll understand how important it is not to buy into this idea to deny your feelings. Because a thought is almost, especially like a random thought. Like if you're driving around and all of a sudden this thought pops into your head and you're like, where did that come from? It came from your unconscious mind. Because in your unconscious mind you have all of the thoughts and feelings and beliefs that you've been trained to believe, that you have trained yourself to believe for your entire life, and it sits in your unconscious mind, and they're constantly boiling. Now, if you are in active denial, if you have been told that negative thoughts and negative feelings are bad and they'll create more bad things, don't have negative feelings, then you are actively suppressing them. And when you suppress them, they get stronger. And it's like trying to keep the lid on a boiling pot. The more pressure you put on that boiling pot, the more it wants to explode. And so random thoughts, negative thoughts especially, random negative thoughts that pop into your mind are there because there's this boiling, unconscious vat of feelings that haven't gone away. In fact, the fact that you have chosen not to feel them is making them stronger and stronger and stronger. And so you cannot control those random thoughts. Thoughts are the result of stimulus. You are reacting to a stimulation. Somebody says something to you, like I did. Somebody does something to you. But when it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you wake up in a sweat because you're thinking all these horrible thoughts and feelings, it's because your unconscious is starting to release it, because you don't have any conscious control at that point. When you're dreaming, you don't have any conscious control over your thoughts. You can't choose to repress them. Your conscious mind is asleep. Your unconscious mind comes to life. And so when it comes to feelings, feelings are the natural feelings that you have to your interaction with life. Somebody hurts you. That's not a thought. You just, if somebody you care about betrays you, hurts you, lies to you, hits you, you are going to have a feeling about that. Feelings are natural responses. You have to have them. If you try to live without feelings, you become dead. I spend a lot of time teaching my students to get rid of the idea of reaching a state of enlightenment. I believe in the state of becoming enlightened, of lightening yourself, of being in the process of enlightenment. Absolutely. But I do not believe there is this static state where you are just enlightened, because it reinforces this idea that feelings are bad and you can get to the place where you have no feelings. Hi, welcome. Praise the Lord. I just have love now. Our ancestors had things that we call now fairy tales. In fairy tales, there are no enlightened beings. In fairy tales, there is the wicked witch and the good witch. There is the wicked wizard and the good wizard. The Lord of the Rings is a good example. You have Sauron, the evil sorcerer, and you have Gandalf, the white wizard. Power is neither good nor bad. There can be evil people with power and good people with power. They're both spiritual, Sauron didn't get to be where he was because he didn't believe in the power of spirit. Very spiritual person. He just used it for his own negative purposes. And that's a very real understanding. And this law of attraction is the same way. There's no such thing as positive or negative. It just is. You have sadness, you have fear. All of these negative feelings serve a function for you under the right circumstances. So let me take that same, I've said it to you before, but I'll say it again. Let's take that same theory. If you have a positive feeling, positive things will come to you. You have fantasized about the perfect lover. You have fantasized about being a millionaire. You have fantasized about having the perfect body. You have fantasized about having all of your hair. And how many of those things have happened? I walk down the street. I live at the beach here. I go down to the beach. I see a beautiful young woman walking around in a bikini. And I have all kinds of thoughts about and fantasies. And guess what? She doesn't come home with me. She didn't magically come knocking on my door and say, hey. Well, not all the time. But so just because you have a positive feeling doesn't guarantee you're going to have a positive result. But what about the negative ones? Now, we have as many negative feelings as positive feelings. You have fantasized about people who have harmed you in a negative way. You have negative feelings about all kinds of things. You have fears. Just because you have a fear, all of a sudden you have a fear that you're going to get hit by lightning, doesn't mean that lightning is going to hit you. You've had a negative thought, somebody has hurt your feelings, if somebody's broken up with you, cheated on you. I know you're human beings, so I know at least within some of those there was at one point a very negative fantasy you had about that person. They're still alive and walking around. There are people in your life that you loved that died. So just having a feeling doesn't mean that's going to manifest. So I'm telling you that your negative feelings, just because you have a negative feeling, doesn't mean it's going to manifest. You can have a negative feeling. So I was trying to tell you, what happens is a thought, a random thought is the result of a feeling. A feeling in your unconscious mind, meaning you're not aware of it, and it bubbles up. It gets the pressure of that feeling bubbles up, and you have a thought, a random thought. A feeling is also a response to stimulus. But a feeling is associated with your identity. If you don't have an identity, you don't have any feelings. In order to be able to manifest anything, you have to have an identity. So if you're trying to reach enlightenment where you have no feelings and you have no issues, then you will have nothing. Because those kinds of people, true enlightened people, don't have an ego. They don't have an identity. And I'm here to tell you that an ego is a good thing. Because you're here to experience this life. And if you're trying to get out of experiencing this life because your experience of life is negative, I can understand that. But you can't do it while you still have an ego. But at the same time, you can't enjoy life if you don't have an ego, if you don't have an identity. So if you want to get rid of feelings, then go into the wilderness and live in the jungle and stay in a loincloth and meditate to become one with the universe and to get rid of your identity. That's the only way out. If you want to have good things in life, you want to have a house and a car and a wife or a husband and family, then you need to have an identity. If you have an identity, you're going to have feelings, both positive and negative. When, if you're walking and you step on a piece of glass, you cut yourself. Ow. You don't spend time, years later, thinking about that stupid piece of glass. I hate that stupid piece of glass. You don't take it personally. It's just a piece of glass, you stepped on it. You heal, you sew up the cut, and it gets better, and you forgot about it. You have a scar. Somebody says, what is that scar? What is that scar? How did I get that? Oh yeah, I stepped on a piece of glass. I totally forgot about that. But you walk down the street, beautiful woman in a bikini. Maybe it's your girlfriend. It's your ex-girlfriend. And she walks up and she starts yelling at you and she throws her beer bottle on the ground and a piece of glass gets in your foot, cuts your foot. You're going to remember that scar. 10 years later, you're going to go, oh yeah, that was so-and-so. She was my ex-girlfriend. And she cheated on me and she did this and she did that to my foot and my foot's never been the same. I hate that. What's the difference? Same thing. It's a piece of glass got in your foot, cut your foot. The difference is, one, your ego was attached to what this person did and you had a feeling, you had a resentment. Your ego was not you're smart enough and you're sane enough to know that when you're walking down and you just step on a random piece of glass, it wasn't personal. So resentments, feelings, negative feelings are because you are just a normal human. You have an identity. And if you have an identity, you can't seek pleasure and a good life if you don't have an identity. Okay? So thoughts, random thoughts come from feelings, unresolved feelings. Feelings come from your ego trying to defend itself. And intention is something altogether different. Somebody said to me that isn't an intention a thought? No. A thought is not something you have any control over. A thought is what pops into your head. You do have control to some degree over how much effort you put into indulging in that thought. But seemingly, if you have a thought that keeps recurring that you can't get rid of, that means it's an unresolved thought on an unconscious level. If you have the ability to consciously change your thought about it, then maybe it's only in the conscious mind. But this is the main thing. You know, I'll end this this video with this little thing. You know, I got an email from somebody trying to ask me if I would sell their manifestation product. They wanted me to become an affiliate, and they said I'll make 75%, which is something like $200 and something per sale. And they wanted me to sell their product on my channel. And I won't lie to you, it sounded really good. Wow, $250, I thought about it. But obviously, number one, that would be bad for my business because that's my competition. But secondly, I looked at it and it's the same nonsense. And I went and looked at this guy's teaching. In one of his videos, he talks about practice this for 5 minutes and it'll change your life. And all he's saying is think about something positive before you go to bed. And then he says the subconscious mind really releases when you're sleeping. First off, it annoyed me that he didn't know the difference between unconscious and subconscious. But the other thing was that the assumption in it is that there is no unconscious, that your subconscious is this blank slate. And it's not. And the assumption was that you could just choose to implant this positive thought, and then when you go to sleep, that positive thought will go and manifest. But that's only true if you don't have opposing negative thoughts in your unconscious mind. And if you have negativity and negative experiences, it's because you have a lot of unresolved negative things going on in your unconscious mind. And just because you try and impose a positive thought on that, it's like trying to put a flower on, a bunch of dog poop. The dog poop is still there. You have to clean out the dog poop first. Then you can put the flower on. Then the flower will smell nice. But if you try and just simply put a flower into some dog poop and hope that you're going to smell this beautiful flower, you're not. You're not even going to smell the flower. And so obviously I wouldn't put my name to that product because he's not helping anybody. And then there's his whole sales pitch, which I'm going to study that because, the truth is I'm just too straightforward about here's the truth. And what I don't do is I don't address people's needs and desires and, you know, all the sales stuff that's been taught. And I may start doing that. But I believe in what I'm sharing with you. I believe in what I'm teaching you. And I can guarantee you that if you're able to follow the principles that I teach in this and in the 5 steps to mastering the matrix. If you haven't watched that, go and watch that video. Okay, I'll put a link up here for that video. Go and watch that. And anyway, we could get on and on and on, but what I'm going to talk about now in the part B is that, what is it? Part A, we're talking about how you can become addicted to the hopium, to the hope, and that people are addicted to the hope of happiness, but they're not really able to get anything from that hope, or they're getting limited results from the hope. And just being addicted to the hope makes you feel better, takes you out of those unconscious negative feelings for a brief time, but it doesn't give you what you really need, which is to have an unconscious mind cleared of the negativity so that you can actually use the positive feelings that you have. Positive feelings have to go from your conscious mind into your unconscious, and then the unconscious mind then sends it out, and then the positivity comes back to you. And that can't happen if you're stuffing down all of the negative feelings because you feel guilty and you feel bad and unspiritual. So you have to get rid of that. And let me just tell you that your negative feelings will not create negative results in and of themselves, because you don't have any control over those thoughts that come up, those random negative thoughts. You don't have any control over your natural human response to the negative experiences that you've had. You have to work through them. Change your opinion about yourself. Then you can change the unconscious mind so that the unconscious mind will manifest the positive things and not the negative things. All right? So in part B of this 3rd installment, I'm going to share with you the positive feelings that do work, and how you can take your will towards positive feelings and have those positive feelings create your intention. So go to thunderwizard.com. Look on the right side of the page and you will see Manifestation Mastery Course. Click on that and that will take you to the part B video of this, and I will get into explaining to you the positive feelings you can indulge in that will result in you manifesting positivity. Okay, so I'll see you in the part B video.